All right, folks, we're going to be talking about Nintendo first party sales data, however you pronounce that word. So please like, subscribe, share the video. Uh, now, the Nintendo Switch has blown out everybody's predictions. No one thought it was going to ever beat the Wii. There was a lot of people in the industry saying that it wasn't going to do as well, that it was nowhere near as much sales as the 3DS and the last console combined, and it was all kind of things said. But they've crossed the 103 million mark. So we're gonna take a look at some of the data that they put out, some of the data. Now these numbers are pretty old. I'm not gonna lie. They're from December 31st, 2021. We're already in the middle half of February. But as you can see here, the total sales of hardware for the Nintendo Switch was 103.54 million units. That includes all three versions of the Switch, the Switch, Switch Lite, and the Switch OLED. And the 3DS sold 75.94 million units. The Wii U, which many people say was a failure, actually sold 13.56 million units. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think when people look at that, and I watched, a few things this past week about how, the 3DS and the Wii U were like the worst of like Nintendo's, things. Obviously, you had the Virtual Boy, but it was kind of hard listening to someone kind of dog on it a little bit, saying 3DS was so bad. I absolutely loved my 3DS. I have a few of them. 13 million is nothing to shake a stick at. It's really it's really well done. But in Nintendo's world, in the world of the big three, the big boys out there, it's low numbers. But it's great to see that the Switch is doing, absolutely fantastic in this day and age with PS5 and Xbox One X and that stuff. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, Nintendo Switch has outsold the 3DS and the Wii U combined, which I think is phenomenal. And
Um,
if we scroll down, the Wii itself only sold 101.63 million units, so it has sold better than the Wii. However, the Nintendo DS has still dominated with 154.02 million units. Jeez.
What's really going to be great is moving forward. Anybody who's ever been to a flea market or thrift stores or whatever, if there was a time where you could find Wii's for basically 15-20 bucks, they've gone up because of just games in general have gone up, especially during the pandemic. But to think in the future, maybe 5-10 years down the road, that you might be able to find Switches for pennies on the dollar at a garage sale or a flea market. That's fantastic.
um, um, well, I mean, the thing is that as the overall human population continues to expand, it will be the reason sales figures do rise. But I think one good reason why the DS did so well, they had so many iterations. I think they
Well,
had more.
are you talking 3DS, Carl?
The DS.
The DS, yeah. I think the DS
It,
sold better than the 3DS did.
yeah, and that's, I think, in part because it had the DS Lite had the GBA port.
Well, right. This is Nintendo's bread and butter. They go through a handheld or console, and they always do like a refresh on it, giving you just those few features that you can't live without: better battery, bigger screen, better volume. Maybe just making it. It's funny how they go back and forth. They shrink the console, or they enlarge it. And they always hit a demographic somewhere, right? They always hit fans that are either waiting on it or want it to be smaller, want it to be bigger, have a better screen. So, they obviously know what they're doing. It's no surprise in this day and age that, if you want to wait for a Nintendo console, that's fine, but just always understand that, a couple years they're always going to have some kind of refresh. It's just what Nintendo does at this point.
Yeah.
And
So real quick, a Talkie teacher has a question. He says, how many years does the Switch have left? What are your opinion, guys? Real quick, Carl, how many years do you think the Switch has left in its life cycle?
at least 2 or 3, I think.
Gary, how many years do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carl on this one, and I think it's right around 3 or 4 years. We have that Mario Kart DLC that's at least pushing us for the next year and a half. So I definitely see it lasting another 3 to 4 years. An announcement will be made probably not this year, not next year, but in 2024. The new Switch or Switch 2 or whatever they're going to have is going to be announced. So. That's how I see it.
What about you, Blinded? What do you think?
Based on the CEO, I think they have another 5 years because he said this year marks the halfway point of the Switch, and so we're already in year 5, right? So I'm curious to see what they do exactly with this supposed Switch 2, because they could find themselves in another like Wii U situation where the marketing is very confusing. So I could see them actually kind of maybe writing out the Switch, but like updating it almost like an iPhone, right? They have to be really smart about it. So
to that
we'll
point,
see.
I have been watching some videos specific to new Switch stuff, and they are working on some kind of new graphics software or tech. It's like
what's this?
Yeah, with the
DL.
Yeah, the DSL SS.
Yeah, and moving forward, they're thinking that moving forward, this is going to be have to be implemented into the games, and they're thinking moving forward that games like Breath of the Wild 2 are going to have this, and it's just going to most likely bump up things here and there, but it's ultimately going to give Nintendo a little boost in quality for their games. So
because they're going to write out this handheld idea. I think that's why the Switch is so successful, because it merged two of their their two markets, right? The console, the home console, and the handheld.
Right into
those
one.
were separate. Yeah, right into one, right? So I always felt like it was always going to be successful. Like the Wii U was trying to do what the Switch was, but it just wasn't there yet. And so, it kind of makes sense that it sold so well. And on top of that too, it has some of the best lineup for Nintendo in general, right? Like, and we're still getting games, right? There's rumors of a Metroid Prime remake. We're getting Metroid Prime 4. There's probably going to be more 3D platformers. I don't know about a new Mario game, but Donkey Kong hasn't gotten a new game in 8 years. So there's definitely going to be a lot on the horizon, despite it being halfway point for the Switch.
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm going to side more with Blinded and say 5 to 7 years left in its life cycle. And I'm saying this because I think even after 5 years, we might stop getting major releases on the Switch, major Nintendo first party, as they have moved on to the next console, whatever it may be. But I think the Switch will transition to a period where it's getting sort of handheld mode only games, games that are more designed for the on the go, because it is a handheld, it is a hybrid console, and I think at the end of its life cycle, we're going to see a lot more games that are more focused on the non-docked type gameplay, because you still have the Switch Lights that are going to be out there, and people are still going to want to play those. I've been playing Loop Hero myself. Gary had suggested the game, and I noticed I enjoy it more in handheld mode than docked. Like when it's on the TV, it just doesn't feel right. When I'm sitting there with it, with a little screen in my face, it just feels like this is the way the game should be played.
To Tony's
that happens
point,
with a lot of games. Yeah.
I mean, it's what it. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was just saying, I see them doing like a Switch Lite DX or something to that effect, like give it the Switch OLED treatment.
I mean that could be fantastic. I mean this is what Nintendo excels at, and I think it's always been handheld gaming. I think obviously we loved things like Nintendo, like the NES and Super Nintendo, GameCube, but I think going forward, they always knew that like their strong suit was handheld gaming. I mean, when they brought out the DS, it was kind of like it was underwhelming. The screen and everything, and then it slowly transitioned into just an absolute amazing handheld console. Like you went from not really of a great screen to the DS Lite, which had just this great image quality, and then they bumped it up slightly, and then they bumped it up again to an XL. This is something that they do really well, and I think they're going to focus more on the handheld side of it, even though there are a lot of guys who do play their Switch docked. I tend to play more in handheld mode. I like having that kind of. It's just a different experience, right? I mean, if I want to play something big and bad, I'll go get a PS5 and play that on the the 70-inch TV. But Nintendo excels at being kind of just in your face, hold it, big smile on your face while you're playing your games. So
I
honestly think they will do a PS5. Like what they're doing with the PS5, where it's like there's a lot of cross-gen games that have like performance modes, and because a lot of people have are playing Switch games on their PC, and so they could see that like a game like Breath of the Wild looks amazing in 4K, right? So I think that there's a benefit for older games getting a performance bump, and then that way you can kind of keep older Switches and like have a new Switch model out there without having issues.
Right.
I did post a comment on my Twitter this morning. Like, basically, what's the point of even having wanting a next gen console when you can't even get a hold of it? And that's the thing I like about Nintendo. I think that's their greatest strength. They know how to pivot and put those consoles in people's hands.
Well, people are always going to want what people can't have, right, Carl? I mean, that's kind of the allure to it. Even, I mean, I'm sure there's people who might not even play the PS5 like religiously, and they're not. They might just be casual gamers, but they definitely it's part of the hype, right? They want something to be a part of the club and something that they can't get right now. So I actually see what's going on with like the whole Sony and Microsoft thing is helpful. It is beneficial for them, but it is nice that Nintendo. It didn't take me, but once I had finally acquired the capital to get my OLED, it was quite easy to get my hands on one.
Oh yeah,
just by doing research of when GameStop checking every day, and then I was able to get one. Same can't be said for the PS5 or the Xbox One X.
For me,
gentlemen,
yeah.
The PS5 was really easy for me to get because Sony just sent out an email and said, "Hey, Tony, would you like to buy a PS5? Here's access to the store all to yourself. Get whatever you want. Pick up the PS5, pick up some controllers, some games. 10 minutes, just you." So,
yeah, well, that's you. We're not. The rest of us are not Tony TGD.
Now there are.
If you're not tech savvy, then yeah, you probably are going to have a hard time buying a PS5 and Series X, but like they are kind of easy to get one. Like I got one a year after launch.
There are websites. There are like you can go and there are like YouTube channels that kind of dedicate when stock kind of comes in. So if you really do your research, and I think that's mainly what it is, right? You're not just gonna walk into like a Walmart and find one sitting on the shelf. It's just not going to happen. But if you do your due diligence, you shouldn't have a major issue trying to track one of these down within a month or a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on from the discussion and just pivot just a little bit because I want to go over these numbers real quick. And I think it's pretty interesting to see these numbers and the way they're going. Now, the NES, the Famicom / NES only sold 61 1.91 million units. The Super Famicom / SNES actually sold less at only 49.1 million units. The Nintendo 64 sold less than that at only 32.93 million units. And by the time of the GameCube, we're down to 21.74 million units. So I think it's very interesting that the Nintendo console market was already shrinking from the NES through until the GameCube.
And here's the thing, Tony. Like, you got to really pull up the numbers on PS2. What did the PlayStation 2 sell? And I think that really factors into this is that the market was, I think that, people growing up with Nintendo, they had played pretty much primarily Nintendo throughout their childhood. And then finally getting into things like, the PlayStation 2, and it was another fad, right? I mean, everybody had a PlayStation 2, and it was like kind of what we're going through now. I don't know. It's not as severe, but people really had that, that craving for a PlayStation 2. And I think over the years, a PlayStation 2 and then Xbox 360 was like super popular. And that was the shift, right? And I think a lot of people now have shifted back to, well, I've been playing these, super ultra realistic games for quite a while. I want to get back into the, more bubbly, colorful kind of games. And that's another thing, guys our age, millennials are having kids now, and maybe they do want to recapture some of that nostalgia and kind of pass that on with their kids. So I definitely see like those being factors in to why the Switch has been so, has sold so well.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit, because I think the reason why Nintendo had a decline from those periods of times was because they've been kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And the N64 was kind of like the kind of peaking point where it's like there was a lot of franchises from Nintendo that weren't on the N64, right? And the GameCube, even though it was more powerful, it really wasn't like, they didn't have much to offer, right? And they were kind of like a little scared about the Wii U, right? So I think the reason why the Switch in general was so successful is because it was the most diverse Nintendo platform up until this point, right? Where it's just like, not only are you getting Nintendo games, but you're getting Bethesda games, you're getting indie games, you're getting all this stuff, and it's convenient too, right? So I think that also plays a huge role into revamping. I think if Satoru Iwata was still, like, I don't want to rag on him because he has passed away, but if he was still alive, I don't think the Switch would be all that successful, right? Because a lot of his business decisions were kind of making the company shrink. Like, look at the Wii U. The Wii U had abysmal numbers, right? And that's because it just was confusing. It didn't have the games. There were good games, don't get me wrong, but like Mario 3D World was, we got that on the 3DS. Like, that was such a big disappointment, in my opinion. Like, it's a good game, but it's not the 3D Mario that's going to sell a console. So,
yeah, as someone pointed out here, Oni64 says the Nintendo 64 didn't do as well as the SNES due to the cost of the cartridge and Sony getting all the RPGs and third parties due to their CD format and lower cost, and because Sony, they signed a bunch of studios to exclusive deals. People don't talk about that too much, but when the PlayStation came around, there was a lot of deals being made for certain franchises like Final Fantasy that really locked in Sony PlayStation as the console to get because of those games. But I think it is interesting because everyone always talks about the Nintendo is the additional console, like you get that in addition to the others. But as you can see, their sales were declining really rapidly. And so it's really interesting to see them bounce back so hard with the Switch.
The Wii U almost. Yeah, the Wii U almost put them into the position where they were probably going to be, developers and kind of like have to pimp out Mario to maybe the Xbox or for the PlayStation. So it's great to see they've bounced back and bounced back in a big way. I think the Switch is incredible For anybody who doesn't have one, like Tony said, it is complimentary. You know, you can have your big boys and play those and enjoy them, but to say that Nintendo doesn't have, you know, great games, you know, nothing has to be up to that tier of, you know, they prove that you don't need the power in the console for it to be a success. You know, games are what sells consoles.
Yeah, and real quick, because games are what sell the consoles, we're going to go over the best-selling games for the consoles as Nintendo has laid out the data. This is only first-party data, so they're not necessarily the top 10, period. You know, they're just the top 10 first-party titles on each console.
I do have a point that I want to make that will lead into that, so you go first, Tony.
No, go ahead, Carl. We're listening. We're all ears.
Well, and as I was looking over the games installed on my Switch, like Pokemon Brilliant Diamond really doesn't take up a whole lot for install size, and I think that's definitely one thing that really helps a whole lot. They utilize the stuff they have to.
Yeah, they keep their files small. They keep everything, like you said, they utilize everything to their advantage, to their maximum. They push it without having to go too big. But we're going to look at Nintendo Switch sales. As you can see, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the big winner, with 43.35 million units sold. I'm guessing this includes both digital and physical copies. I got a physical copy myself.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess. I know this one's got to drive blinded nuts. It blows me away that, you know, this game is still selling so well. But, you know, it's obvious. I mean, it's Mario Kart, right? Everybody grew up with Mario Kart. It's one of those games where it doesn't matter, you know, what age you are. It's an easy pickup. You know, it's going to be kid friendly. Obviously, it's, you know, a multiplayer competitive type game. So people absolutely enjoy it. And it's one of the best looking games on Switch, to be honest. So it's a no-brainer.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And just real quick, spoiler alert. As we're going to go through all of them real quick. We're going to go through the Switch, the Wii U, the Nintendo 3DS, the Wii, and the Nintendo DS. And I'm going to spoil it for you right now. Mario Kart games are in the top 10 of each console.
Yep.
Not surprised, yeah.
Animal Crossing came in second with 37.62 million. Super Smash Bros. 27.40 million. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 25.80 million. Pokemon Sword and Shield, despite all the controversy and people complaining, still 23.90 million pieces between the two of them. I don't know how it breaks down exactly, if it's a 50-50 or some other percentage between the two. Super Mario Odyssey, 23 million. Super Mario Party, 17.39 million. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, 14.33 million. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, 13.97 million. And a surprise, at least to me, Ring Fit at 13.53 million units.
Yeah, don't underestimate why, you know, Nintendo went the route of the Wii Fit board. There's obviously a market of, you know, for people who want to be, you know, involved in their gaming and, you know, want to try to lose some weight while having fun doing so. So, you know, I know you always think to yourself, like, that's just a stupid idea, but that, you know, it's one of those things that it just might not be for you. And there obviously is a market for something like that. And I've heard a lot of glowing reviews about the Ring Fit. So,
Yeah,
I'm not surprised to see that.
Well, here, this surprised me a lot when I seen this. So this is the Wii U numbers. Now, remember, Wii U only sold 13.5 million units total. Mario Kart 8 sold 8.46 million units. That's more than half of all Wii U owners bought Mario Kart 8.
I mean, and that was what was the Switch at? 80 million? That's like 10% of what the Switch sold?
Switch was at 43
40.
million.
Oh, okay, 40. So, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Super Mario 3D World was 5.88 million pieces. New Super Mario Brothers U, 5.81 million pieces. Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U, 5.38 million. Nintendo Land, 5.2 million. Splatoon, 4.95 million. Super Mario Maker, 4 million. Super Luigi U, 3.07 million. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, 2.35 million. Mario Party 10, rounding it out at 2.26 million units.
Yeah, and
That's abysmal.
I'm
That's really
super
bad.
surprised that they didn't announce a Wind Waker for the Switch. Obviously, like, and it kind of blows me away that Breath of the Wild wasn't at least on that list. And I know that was, you know, right around the time that the Switch was coming out.
The Wii U was dead at that point. Like all of the numbers went to Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going over the Nintendo 3DS now, real quick. Mario Kart 7, 18.95 million units. Pokemon X and Y is 16.58 million units. Pokemon Sun and Moon, 16.27 million units. Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, 14.46 million. New Super Mario Bros. 2, 13.39 million. Animal Crossing New Leaf, 12.97 million. Super Mario 3D Land, 12.84 million. Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS, 9.6 million. Pokemon
Fantastic
Ultra Sun,
version.
Ultra Moon, 9.04. And Tomodachi Life, 6.68 million units, and a laugh from Carl on that last hit. Now, the Wii
the 3D
had over 100 million consoles sold. And let's take a look at the numbers here.
Wii Sports. Whew.
Wii Sports, 82.90 million units. I believe this was a pack-in at one point.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Mario Kart Wii, 37.38 million units. Wii
Another
Sports
pack-in.
Resort,
Mhm.
33.14 million.
That was also a pack-in.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, these top three. Or it's actually
Mhm.
4. That was a pack-in too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, new Super Mario Brothers Wii was 30.32 million units. Wii Play, 28.02 million. Wii Fit, 22.67 million. Wii Fit Plus, 21.13 million. That's actually
Absolutely
pretty good right there.
insane.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
I mean, pretty much everybody who bought Wii Fit bought the Wii Fit Plus, which is insane as far as retention. Super Smash Brothers Brawl, 13.32 million units. Super Mario Galaxy, 12.8 million units. And Wii Party at 9.35 million units.
No Zelda. Wow.
No Zelda.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
sense,
safe to Are we on the DS now? Here we go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's safe to assume that, you know, going forward on your next console that you get, you can see Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Mario, Pokemon, all being at the top of this list.
Mhm.
Nintendo DS numbers. Here we go. New Super Mario Brothers, 30.8 million units. Nintendogs, 23.96 million, and that was spread across 3 versions. I'm surprised there isn't a Switch Nintendogs.
Yeah,
That is true. Yeah, that was a big
coming.
game.
It's coming, Tony. It's coming.
Mario Kart DS, 23.6 million units. Brain Age, train your brain in minutes a day, 19.01 million units. I think the Amico's Brain Duel might fall just a little bit short.
And that's another pack into. Those were offered with the I don't know if they were offered with the DSIs, but they were offered with the DSi XLs.
I actually bought my copy of Brain Age.
Well, there you go.
It's a
And
decent
there's one
game.
on the Switch. So
You're one.
Yeah.
You're a statistic, Carl.
I'm proud of it.
Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, 17.67 million units. Pokemon Black and White, 15.64 million. Brain Age 2, more training in minutes a day, 14.88 million. So again, the retention was really good from one game to the next. Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, 12.72 million. Animal Crossing, 11.75 million. And Super Mario 64 DS, 11.06 million units. Those are the
They
top
need to bring
selling
that
titles.
back. That was a great
What's that?
game. Mario 64 DS was a great game. They should bring it back.
Yeah, I did not play a lot of these games. I was not a big Nintendo fan back in the day. I jumped off after the SNES. Kind of jumped back on a little with the Switch. I've been messing around with it more. But I think if you look at the first party games, the amount of sales they had, the amount of franchises that it's kind of clustered around, I don't think they're going to have any issues going forward as far as software sales for any Switch 2, any console going forward. As long as they keep pumping out those Pokemon games, Mario Karts, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, and I
Pokemon
think
is
this
not going anywhere.
that's not going anywhere. And this is why they're pumping out the Wii or the Switch Sports, whatever it's called. You know, obviously, they got their, people got the Switches in their hands now, and it's Nintendo's dropping the hammer on them with this. They're hoping that every person who owns a Switch buys this game.
I tell you what's keeping me from buying that game. I don't have enough space in my room to play it.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, we'll get into that. I don't think that will be an issue, to be honest.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
those were the first party sales data. If you enjoyed this segment, if you want to see more numbers on the show, we could always look at the sales figures of the week for the current consoles and everything. I can do the research and get them if that's something you're interested in. Obviously, I love numbers. I love talking numbers. But I don't know if you guys like it. So let me know. Let us know in the comments.
Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely fun
Actually,
to talk about, and definitely drop a comment down below, certain topics or anything you want to talk about.
Actually,
yeah, I would love to talk about NDP numbers because those are kind of fun to talk about.
I definitely agree. I like doing it too. I wouldn't mind if we did it a weekly or bi-weekly thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the panel is in agreement. Just let us know in the comments if you actually like hearing it. With that said, we're going to move on.